for spine-chilling deep woods tales, discover terrifying secrets of the cursed and sinister wilds. The sun dipped behind the trees of Whispering Pines Forest, casting long, dark shadows over the Anderson-s backyard. Children laughed, unaware of the shadows creeping closer. It was just another normal day, or so they thought. As the charcoal smoke curled in the warm evening air, no one could have predicted the horror about to unfold. Lily Anderson, just 10 years old, wandered beyond the playful laughter of the block party, drawn to the tales of Mr. Hawkins, the reclusive neighbor the other parents warned against. Stay away from the woods, they advised. They're cursed. But to Lily, those woods sparkled with untold adventures, where whispers danced between the trees, just waiting for her to discover them. The block party gradually dimmed, families cavorting, blissfully oblivious. And yet, something was brewing amidst the playfulness. A caterwauling sound echoed through the air, cutting through the laughter a warning. Soon after, shadows began to flicker near the edges of the tree-line. The evenings grew darker, the laughter of children became weaker in the face of encroaching dread. It wasn't long before rumors spread of missing pets and eerie symbols that appeared overnight, carved into fences, warning that safety was an illusion. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tom Anderson, a protective father, brushed aside the escalating fears. Just stories, he reassured Sarah and Kyle, trying to calm his own pounding heart. They had no idea what lived beneath the surface of those whispered tales or how they had woven their very lives into the fabric of the forest's dark history. But that wouldn't last, not when Lily began insisting on visiting Mr. Hawkins. Her insistence turned into obsession as she ventured into the woods more often, playing games with flickering shadows. The once serene household turned restless, the night filled with unsettling rustles that felt like icy fingers reaching for them. One fateful night she was gone for hours, returning dirt-streaked and wild-eyed. They called me, she whispered, terror quaking in her voice. In the woods, they whispered tales, they said I'd belong. Then everything shifted. As chaos spread among parents claiming their lost cats and the town erupted with half-baked solutions to an ever-growing problem, Tom's anger flared. But what could he do against fate? The scent of panic was palpable, the tension suffocating. Now, as twilight set in, Lily slipped away once more, her giggles echoing from the depths of the forest, leaving her family behind in confusion and fear. Tom's heart raced as he dashed into the looming darkness after her, feet pounding the forest floor, only to find himself at the heart of Whispering Pines, a clearing swarming with faded photographs, faces of families long forgotten, eyes glaring back as if pleading for help. A sickening thought ripped through him. They weren't just stories, the forest demanded something terrible. What have we awoken? He muttered, breathless and terrified. The night was growing heavier, the trees shifting in the once familiar landscape. With dread thickening in his throat, he knew they were deeper in than they'd ever meant to go. Something sinister lurked behind the comforting facade of their sleepy suburb, something that would never let them escape. The howls shattered the calm again, reverberating through the timber as Tom spun, clutching his daughter's trembling hand like a lifeline. As they turned, roots of the trees seemed to reach for them, grasping at his ankles, dragging him back into the cursed woods. What waited beyond the shadows? Would they become just another tale of the whispers or find a way back before it was too late? The trees loomed like giant sentinels, their twisted trunks merging into a black sea of branches and leaves. Tom's breath came in ragged gasps. "Lily, stay close," he shouted, terror slicing through his voice. Her laughter echoed, though it felt small and lost. It had changed, a whimsical sound twisted into something far more haunting. "Daddy, they want to play," Lily said, her eyes dancing with an unsettling glow that sent a chill down his spine. "No games, honey. We need to get home," he urged, But the further they moved into the heart of the forest, the more entangled they became in something unseen. The shadows thickened, closing in, stretching and bending as if alive. Tom pulled her closer, but a sudden chill fluttered through the air, causing him to shudder. The whispers grew louder, flickering like flames, bending his consciousness. Tom! Tom, they taunted, each repetition twisting in the damp air. Who's there? Stay with us, Tom, came the breathy voices, swirling around him, coating his skin with ice. Lily, please! Keep your eyes on me. Panic consumed him. They stumbled forward, but the ground heaved beneath their feet, as if the earth itself was shifting to swallow them whole. It was then that they came upon it, a stone archway, ancient and overtaken by vines. A pulse of darkness radiated from it, a heartbeat that synced with Tom's frantic rhythm. He felt a cold grip around his chest, squeezing tighter as he fought to breathe. Lily, don't! But it was too late. She darted ahead, curiosity igniting in her eyes as she reached for the threshold. Grasping the aged stones, she whispered something that sent a shock of fear through Tom, words that didn't belong to her. Welcome home. Tom lunged forward, yanking her back just moments before she crossed into the threshold. No! His voice broke as he pulled her against him. The shadows roared, hunger spilling from their depths, claws reaching out like tendrils of despair. I want to go in, she screamed, writhing against his grip. No, we need to leave. He could feel the sorrow of the forest in his bones, the history woven into the trees wrapping tighter around him, dragging him toward the archway. The photographs he'd seen earlier blurred in his memory, faces melting into wails of warning. Fragments of lives lost, swallowed by the whispering pines. With every second, the pull grew stronger. Tom could sense the forest's hunger, its insatiable desire. It wanted Lily, wanted them to be part of its curse, part of its twisted narrative. He let out a primal shout as he wrenched his body backward, dragging her with him. Suddenly, a deafening crack echoed. A branch splintered, and the ground trembled violently, unleashing a rush of roots that surged toward them, frantic to reclaim their prey. Run! He screamed, adrenaline igniting their flight as they burst backward, fleeing the archway. They ran, dodging branches that lashed out like fingers desperate to seize them. Yet behind them, whispers ignited into a simmering storm. Come back! Come back! The dark sounds echoed, fading into fear-laden laughter. The ground fell away beneath them, a gaping maw threatening to swallow them whole. As daylight fractured into splinters, Tom grabbed Lily's hand, their feet pounding in rhythm against the dying light. But the trees were relentless, confounding their escape as shadows twisted, closing in once more. I don't want to go back, Lily sobbed, her grip tightening around his hand, fear plain in her wide eyes. Then we want tea. We'll get home. But the forest had other plans. The shadows surged forward, looming larger, more menacing until they felt suffocated by dread. With one desperate push, Tom and Lily leaped through the brush just as the forest howled in agony, a sound that gnawed at their sanity. But safety felt agonizingly distant. The laughter of children mixed with the whispers, a sickly blend that entwined their nightmares. From the depths of darkness, a figure emerged, a gaunt silhouette standing still, watching them with hollow eyes. Let her go, it hissed, the voice a chill that seeped into their bones. Tom's heart stopped. Would they forfeit their hope to save themselves, while the forest threatened to take everything? The echo of Lily's laughter morphed into a shriek as the gathering shadows lunged toward them. What price would they pay to escape? Tom felt the air grow heavier, as if weighted with the cries of the lost. The figure loomed closer, its features obscured, yet the eyes, those hollow, darkened pits, bore into him with an intensity he couldn't shake. The world around them twisted, ensnaring him in dread. Daddy! Lily whimpered, her voice barely a whisper, filled with a vulnerability that made his heart ache. I can't hold on. Lily, please! He shouted, panic coursing through him like electricity. The shadows writhed, reaching, grasping, each tendril like a hand eager to pull them into the abyss. The figure's voice slithered around him, soft yet laced with an echo of malice. Give her to us, Tom, she belongs here. No! he roared, forcing his legs to move, dragging Lily back against his chest. I won't let you take her. But the shadows seemed to thicken, almost tangible now, wrapping around his legs like snakes. He felt the chill seep in deeper, an icy grip encircling his spine. You can't escape the forest, Tom. The branches overhead crackled, the trees whispering secrets in a language he could barely comprehend. The shadows around them laughed, a twisted, joyous laughter that echoed through him, gnawing at the sanity he clung to. Desperation surged in his veins, powering his frantic movements. Just a little further, he barked, each stride feeling like a battle against a tide that threatened to drown him. The archway faded from view, but its pull lingered, a silent call he could almost feel resonating in his bones. Suddenly, Lily's tiny hand slipped free as something brushed against her, pulling her towards the darkness. No! Tom lunged, seizing her wrist again, heart racing as he felt the wild power of the forest's hunger for her. Stay away from her! He roared, backing away, his breath ragged. The darkness churned, swirling with laughter, a cacophony of children's voices taunting him, mocking him. Tom! Come play with us! Each step they took was like moving through quicksand, the ground itself reluctant to let them go. Breaking free, they angled towards a meager shaft of light that flickered between the trees, a hint of safety in a threatening world. But just as they neared, a thundering crack erupted, splintering the earth before them. Tom skidded to a stop, his heart pounding madly. The ground was opening, a black maw ready to consume everything it could grasp. Dad! Lily shrieked, her voice agitated. He squeezed her hand tighter, a gesture of comfort quickly laced with fear. Hold on. He took a step back, steeling himself against the palpable menace lurking in the shadows. We need to go back. Why? She cried, confusion dancing in her eyes. They said they want to play. They're lying. As if in response, the figure moved closer, its body drifting forward, a shadow pulling away from the dark. Join us, Lily. You'll be happy here. No! Tom's refusal echoed through the night, raw and desperate. He felt the energy shift, like a predator sensing weakness. The sounds crescendoed, a symphony of despair rising, beckoning them into silence. Let her go! Tom yelled again, anger bubbling like molten steel. Then he saw it, the light grew brighter, a sense of hope igniting, but it came with an unholy price. Behind the figure, shadows coalesced into grotesque forms, trapping them in a cage of despair. With all his strength, Tom yanked Lily backward as the world around them threatened to collapse. The shadows howled, hungry and relentless, as they stumbled back toward the beam of light, their lifeline. Would they escape this nightmare, or was the forest destined to claim their souls? A piercing shriek cut through the night as the earth trembled beneath them, and suddenly, it went quiet. What other horrors awaited them in the heart of the whispering pines? Tom's heart raced as the eerie stillness settled in, a rare moment of quiet that felt deceptive, as though the world was holding its breath. He scanned the woods, half expecting the shadows to bubble back to life, but there was only deathly silence. It felt wrong, too calm, as if the very trees were watching them, waiting. Daddy, I'm scared. Lily's voice trembled, and his grip around her hand tightened in response. He could feel her shaking, the pulse of raw fear mirroring his own. We're okay, Lily, he managed, though the words tasted like ash in his mouth. We need to find a way out. As they inched backward, Tom's eyes darted around. He could feel the forest's oppressive presence surrounding them. Something was wrong with the trees. Their gnarled branches twisted like fingers, and the whispers of the wind carried messages he couldn't quite decipher. If the shadows had quieted, something worse might be stirring. Run! He shouted, springing forward toward the fading sigh of light. He propelled himself and Lily forward, suddenly aware of the growing sense of urgency. The darkness behind them seemed to pulse, a living entity ready to swallow them whole. Just as they cleared the threshold of the light, a voice echoed from within the shadows, deep and distorted. You can't leave, Tom. You belong to us now. Their sprint quickened, fear adding fuel to his muscles. He scanned for a path, his mind racing with thoughts of escape. but the woods twisted around them. The ground felt soft yet firm, as if trying to hold them back, to secure them within its grasp. What was that? Lily gasped, glancing over her shoulder. It doesn't matter right now, Tom said sharply, gritting his teeth. He couldn't let fear cloud his judgment. He had to focus. Suddenly, a branch snapped disturbingly close to them. He turned, eyes wide, as a figure emerged, its form flickering like a dying flame in the night. It was another child, eyes wide with terror and sorrow, mouth open in a scream that sent chills racing down Tom's back. "Leave us! You can't take her!" The child's voice trembled with a pain both raw and heartbreakingly familiar. "Lily!" Tom yelled, yanking at her arm. But she had stopped moving, entranced by the apparition before her. "Daddy, look!" The child began to shift and pulse, shadows bending and stretching until it seemed like dozens of faces twisted together in agony. He felt anger rise, mixed with dread boiling in his gut. "Lily, snap out of it! Come on!" But Lily remained, her attention captured like bait on a line, drawn closer to the phantoms that echoed their own cries, a chorus of lost children begging for release. "Join us!" they howled, the voices now a tempest of shrieks that rattled the air. Tom felt sick. He had to pull her back. With every ounce of strength he yanked, feeling the pull of something dark, something desperately intent on luring her in. "Don't listen to them!" he screamed into the tempest of noise. Just as Lily looked set to step forward, Tom lunged, arms wrapping around her waist. They toppled backward, tumbling through the light while the shadows writhed angrily behind them, cursing their escape, their laughter now a symphony of rage. They landed hard, gasping for breath, sweat trickling down Tom's forehead as he pressed his back against a sturdy tree. It was stark and solid against the chaos, but he could still hear the voices whispering in the wind, laced with malice. "Keep going," he urged, breathless. "We have to keep moving." But the ground still held its secrets. There was more lurking beneath. His instincts screamed that they had not reached safety yet. With a last glance at the fading shadows, Tom grabbed Lily's tiny hand again, pulling her along, and in that moment, he realized the truth: the woods were alive. They weren't just fighting for their lives, they were being hunted. As the chill settled back in, the trees seemed to close in around them once more, as if conspiring, waiting for the moment they'd strike. What lay ahead? Would they encounter allies, or would the forest seal their fate? As they stumbled deeper into the suffocating darkness of the forest, Tom's breath came in short, jagged gasps. The air felt heavy, like a thick fog wrapping around him, pressing against his chest. He glanced at Lily, face pale as the moonlight struggled to pierce the towering canopy above them. Her eyes were wide, brimming with unshed tears. "Daddy," she whimpered, and it twisted something sharp in his gut. "Shoot," he whispered sharply as he strained to listen. The surrounding woods echoed eerily, a low hum that vibrated through the branches, lingering like a fading melody. It felt like the trees themselves were leaning in, their ancient bark creaking with every breath they took. He had to keep her safe, had to keep moving. "Where do we go?" Lily asked, her voice trembling, barely a whisper against the growing noise in the trees. Tom hesitated, glancing around. Every way looked the same, a labyrinth of twisted roots and shadowy figures. He spotted a flicker of movement in the corner of his eye. It was quick, like a shadow darting between trees. Frantic whispers seemed to trail behind it. "Follow me," he said, determination flooding his veins. They pushed forward, weaving through the tight passages formed by gnarled roots and underbrush, hearts pounding like war drums. The deeper they went, the darker it became. An inexplicable dread grew within him, wrapping around his thoughts like a vice. He could sense something watching them, waiting, hungry. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled violently, tossing Tom off balance. He barely caught Lily as she stumbled, eyes wide with terror as the earth beneath them cracked, fissures appearing like jagged mouths ready to swallow them whole. "Run!" he shouted, pulling her along as they sprinted, dodging the ever-lengthening shadows. Just then, the whispers escalated into frenzied chants, the words incomprehensible but thick with rage. "The woods demand! The woods will take!" They echoed all around, growing louder, a cacophony of dark promises. Tom's instincts screamed that they were close to something sinister, but as they rounded a bend, a narrow clearing opened up ahead, bathed in a sickly glow. At the center stood an altar made of rotting wood, surrounded by a circle of stones. "What is that?" Lily gasped, voice cracking, clutching Tom's hand tighter. Tom swallowed hard. It looked ancient, oozing an aura of despair. Shadows knotted around it, writhing as if alive. "I don't know. Stay close to me." Before he could react, the ground erupted in a torrent of roots, snaking toward them like serpents. They shot out from underneath the altar, wrapping around Tom's ankles with a cold grip. "No!" he yelled, struggling to break free. Lily screamed, the sound piercing through the chaos surrounding them. "Daddy?" His heart sank as he watched Lily's eyes go wide, and in that moment, he realized she was staring not at him, but behind him. "Let her go!" Tom shouted, summoning all his strength to pull away. But the roots clung tighter, almost mocking in their grasp. And then he felt a chill creeping up his spine, whispering dark promises into his ear. "Join us, become one with the woods." Panic surged. The trees creaked, their whispers growing louder, more insistent. He had to break free, had to save Lily. "What do you want?" he shouted into the darkness, desperation squeezing his voice tight. A soft, distorted laughter echoed around him, a sinister response that sent icy fingers down his back. "What we want is what you'll never give." He could see Lily now, rooted to the spot in a silent scream as dark figures emerged between the trees, faces twisted in agony, reaching out, begging for release. He felt his courage shake, splintering under the weight of their despair. Suddenly, the roots released him. He stumbled forward, catching Lily's eye, and her resolve broke. "Daddy?" she called again, hopelessly lost. In that moment, beneath the weight of the shadows, Tom realized the truth: they had already begun to seal their fate. He lunged toward her, but the dark figures surged forward, clutching at her in a frenzy. Just as he grabbed her hand, the trees shuddered. "Your choice, Tom," 1,000 voices whispered in unison. The forest throbbed in anticipation, pressing against them like a living cage. As the ground beneath them pulsated once more, Tom felt the air shift as if everything was about to change. What grips the woods ends here, but what lies beyond could seal their fate forever. Tom's heart raced as he clutched Lily's hand, the panic in her eyes burning into him like a brand. The shadowy figures closed in, faces twisted in experience and anguish, their mouths moving in synced whispers that filled the air with a freezing dread. He sensed an overwhelming pressure in the atmosphere, bearing down like a heavy fog, difficult to breathe, harder to think. "Hold on tight," he shouted, and with a swift tug, he yanked her forward. They dashed into the oppressive darkness around the altar, darting past the mass of writhing shadows. With each step, the ground beneath seemed to pulse, echoing the frantic beat of their hearts. The whispers morphed into anguished cries, urging him to turn back, chanting an unholy litany of loss and despair. "Stay, join us." The air shimmered with regret and longing. It seeped into Tom's mind, each word trying to worm its way in, to pull him into the depths of their eternal misery. He shut his eyes, forced himself to focus. "I want to leave you, Lily," he shouted, his voice crackling. Lily's small fingers gripped his hand, her body trembling. "Daddy, they're everywhere," she gasped, glancing over her shoulder. Tom felt it then, a shadow sprawling from the altar, stretching its long, gnarled fingers toward them. He could almost hear the ancient wood groan, testimonies woven into the very fabric of the forest, a pattern of sacrifice, despair, and choice. Just ahead, a narrow path split the undead creatures from the altar. Tom risked a glance back. Those lost souls were now clawing at the ground, their faces morphing, some pleading, others simply resigned. A horrifying chill ran down his spine, igniting every protective instinct within him. "Now!" he yelled, shoving Lily ahead of him. They sprinted down the path, the darkness threatening to swallow them whole. Each step felt cursed, as if the ground itself were entreating them to stop. Behind them, a cacophony of howls erupted, piercing through the forest. It was a sound that could only be described as primordial, a call for many souls from an age before them. Their anguish hung in the air like a thick fog. Faster! Tom urged, dragging Lily along as they broke through the tree-line. They stumbled into a small clearing, moonlight spilling across it like salvation. But that moment of relief shattered as the shadows stretched forth, forming a visible barrier on the edge, cutting them off from retreat. What lay behind him became a frenzied tide of darkness. Figures pulsed forward, eyes empty yet blazing, arms held wide. "Join us!" they shouted in a chorus that made Tom's skin crawl. "No!" he yelled, squeezing Lily's hand tightly as he scanned the perimeter. What else could he do? The air turned thick and electric. Then he saw a tree. An anomaly that stood tall and proud, its trunk gleaming with a strange luminescence. The whispers were muted here, distorted. It felt like sanctuary, but an eerie chill grazed the back of Tom's neck. It was where the darkness hesitated, pulled back. "Lily, over here!" He pulled her with urgency, hoping the strange light illuminated their way to safety. As they dashed forward, he heard her whimper softly, and instinctively he wrapped his arm around her shoulder, steering her toward their possible escape. The shadowy figures writhed, hesitating just outside the border of light like spiders fearing their own web. But as Tom reached the gleaming tree, the ground shook again, a reminder of the forest's hunger. A deep, menacing rumble echoed around them, and the whispers swelled to a shriek. "You cannot leave! You belong to us!" Panic surged anew. Tom stumbled but regained his balance. What was happening? What did the woods want from them? Then he heard a distinct cry amidst the chaos. "Daddy?" Lily's voice trembled, rooted in fear as she pointed behind him. Something was emerging from the darkness, taking form. An unmistakable silhouette, one Tom knew all too well. "Mommy?" It slipped out, before he could stop it. The realization struck like lightning, jolting through him as he turned to see the figure formulating in front of them was it truly her? A phantom of the past, or had the woods conjured another cruel trick? "Tom," she beckoned, a twisted smile gracing her lips. "Let her join me." The shadows danced, the cries of the lost now muted, waiting on the precipice of his choice. Would he step into the light and embrace the unknown, or would he succumb to the darkness that thrived on sorrow? "Daddy," Lily trembled beside him, her grip tightening. As their world teetered on the brink, Tom's heart shattered. The forest clamored for an answer, and he could feel the ground beneath them beginning to churn once more. What choice will he make, and what does the forest truly desire? The air grew heavier, and Tom's breath came in ragged gasps as he took a half-step back, his instinct to protect Lily warring with an urge to reach for the figure whispering to him. The silhouette loomed larger, details sharpening, long dark hair, a fragile hand extending through the darkness. "Tom, I've missed you." The voice curled around him, silky yet laced with something dark and treacherous. "You can bring her to me. We can be a family again." Lily squeezed his hand, trembling violently, her wide eyes darting between the shadow and the forest. "Daddy, no! It's not her!" "Join me, Tom," the figure cooed, a faint echo of warmth masking the chill that spread through the clearing. "It's just a step. Just one more step." He could feel the ground pulse beneath him, urging him to take that step. Fear and longing battled in his chest. Could it be her? The woman he loved, whisked away into darkness, now offering him a chance to be whole again? "Daddy!" Lily shouted, pulling him back from the brink. "Don't listen!" But Tom was overwhelmed, every painful memory flooding his mind. They'd been so happy, so alive. And yet, the barbs of reality prickled at the back of his thoughts. This was a forest steeped in lies and loss. Tom, the phantom voice now twisted and hallowed, taking on a harsher tone, full of hunger. "You owe me, don't you?" "No!" His shout echoed into the encroaching dark, fire surging through him. He turned his back on that nightmarish form, drawing Lily close. "We need to go. Now!" As he steeled himself to flee, the shadows erupted, slashing toward them with feral speed. The air vibrated with a cacophony of wails and curses of the damned. "You don't escape us!" The voices hissed. Each profound stealthy step felt as though the forest itself elongated, treetops bending, branches reaching to clutch at their limbs. "Run!" he yelled, propelling them into the embrace of the luminescent tree. A comfort that felt unstable and wrong as roots emerged gnarled and twisting, wrapping around Tom's ankles, anchoring him in place. Panic flooded his veins as he pulled against them, but their grip tightened like a vice. "Help!" Lily screamed as she stumbled, then darted back, her little legs desperately kicking away the shadows that threatened to surge over her. A harsh whisper clawed at Tom's ear. "Where are you going? You'll never escape, you belong to us. Get away from her!" Tom roared, fear igniting the protective instincts in him. His voice cracked, drowning in the mounting dissonance around them. Suddenly, the phantom figure appeared again, this time closer. Her eyes gleamed with a predatory satisfaction, desperately hungry for the warmth of familial bonds. "You can't fight it, love. Just give in." That twisted smile cut deeper than he anticipated. The temptation was palpable, the painful memories reshaping into something more attractive. "Join the rest," she whispered, as the shadows curled around her like obedient serpents. "Fight it, Daddy." "Please!" Lily's cry cut through the murk, her defiance like a beacon. Her little hands gripped his tightly, grounding him amidst the chaos. As Tom struggled against the tree's roots, the shadows around him thickened, forming faces of anguish. He recognized pain, anguish, and other emotions he couldn't bear to confront. Faces that mirrored the twisted souls behind him, lurking beyond the grasp of light. They were watching. Waiting. With a guttural roar, fueled by a surge of adrenaline, Tom yanked his foot free, still pulling Lily beside him. They bolted forward, charging past the glowing borders of the strange tree. The forest shuddered, he could sense it trying to reclaim them. They ran. The darkness screeched, arms reaching out in futile desperation. But then, the ground began to twist, shifting beneath their feet, as the familiar path they'd entered suddenly folded upon itself. Were they running in circles? Breathless, Tom caught sight of something, another figure silhouetted against the distant tree line, watching them with hollow eyes. Was it the same specter? Hope clashed with despair in a dizzying whirl. "Go!" Tom urged, the fraying threads of terror binding tighter as uncertainty loomed. In that moment, the world spun, the shadows bent their will, and everything shifted around them. It felt like they were extricating from a dark maw, but to where? Another scream erupted. This time it was not Lily's. It pierced the air with desperate urgency, and Tom's heart faltered. "Who are you?" echoed a voice familiar, a tangible presence among the horrors. "Mommy!" Lily shouted, gasping for breath. Tom froze, a chill racing down his spine. The moment stretched, and in the confusion, he wondered, would they ever leave this forest? Or would they join the cacophony of tortured souls that echoed endlessly among the trees? As darkness fell heavy, it waited, a shroud ready to ensnare them. What happened next would decide everything. Would Tom dare to confront the whispers of the past, surrender to the shadows, or fight to carve a new fate for him and Lily? The shriek resonated through the trees, chilling Tom to the bone, each note pushing him deeper into a sprawling dread. "Mommy?" Lily's voice faltered, teetering between hope and horror. But Tom could feel the darkness thickening around them, greedily creeping to snatch away the last remnants of their sanity. "What is happening?" Lily cried, her breath quickening as she tugged at his arm. He looked down to see her eyes, wide and filled with fear, sipping at his resolve. Her innocence threatened to rip him in two. Against his instincts, he turned toward the direction of the voice, desperation clawing at him. Could it really be her? After all this time? "Don't come closer!" Tom shouted, his heart thundering. "Tom, I'm here. I've always been here," came the voice again, softer, almost aching. A gentle whisper that danced on the edges of his mind, inviting him to remember the warmth of her presence, the smell of her hair, the tenderness of her laugh. It was an ache he thought he had buried. But buried things have a way of clawing back. In the suffocating gloom, laughter echoed high and desperate, splintering the hope he clung to. The shadows twisted and churned as figures began to emerge, some familiar, faces hauntingly reminiscent of lives lost and love turned bitter. Friends, family, all enveloped in a darkness that covered their sorrow with wicked glee. They beckoned to him with twisted fingers, their mouths curling into mocking grins. "Come, Tom, join us," they urged, their voices harmonizing into a horrifying symphony. The forest wasn't just alive, it was sentient. It craved them, yearning to engulf their souls in eternal despair. "Lily, listen!" Tom barked, tearing his gaze from the ghastly figures. "We have to find a way out. We can't trust them." He grabbed her hand tightly, searching frantically for any path that might lead them to safety. But the darkness felt alive, shifting shapes, swallowing all light. The ground beneath their feet trembled again, a suffocating pulse, throbbing with malevolence. From the corner of his eye, he saw fleeting shapes dart between the trees, shadows sweeping the landscape with a life of their own, watching, waiting. "Daddy, what if it really is Mommy?" Lily's small voice quavered, fear threading through her words. The child's yearning twisted deeper into Tom's chest, twisting his gut with indecision. He didn't have time to think. "No, we have to go!" he yelled, shaking his head violently as if it would shake loose the terrible memories that clasped him. He forced them forward, but behind them, the laughter rose to a deafening crescendo. Each sound echoed off the trees, a chorus of spirits trapped within the very fabric of the forest, clamoring for release. "Don't be afraid, Tom." There it was again, a seductive whisper, curling around his mind. His breath caught as he recognized the unmistakable voice intermingled with the otherworldly chorus. It was her. It was Sarah. "Stay with me, Daddy!" Lily shrieked, pulling at his shirt. In that moment Tom felt lost, a father torn between a memory that felt almost real and the flesh and blood child clinging to him for survival. The forest shifted. He could almost sense it, the trees closing in, their branches elongating, hands reaching to entrap them. Desperation fueled his feet, and he trudged onward, deep through the knots and twists of the malevolent maze, his heart pounding an erratic beat. But a flicker of light pierced through the canopy ahead, a glint of safety, a glimpse of another life just beyond those shadowy trees. "Look!" he shouted, hope igniting within him. "It's a way out." But as they made for it, a scream erupted behind them, sharp and penetrating. Tom turned, and the phantoms twisted closer, their faces morphing, becoming grotesque semblances of their former selves. "You can't run from us, Tom!" the echo roared, shattering the brief calm. "We feast on the lost, join us!" "Run!" Tom cried, ripping his gaze away from the horrors chasing them, and with a final surge of strength, he dashed toward the light. But as they approached, Tom's heart sank. The glimmer faded, swallowed by the choking shadows, leaving nothing but echoes of desperate laughter behind. He stumbled to a stop, awareness creeping in that the grip of this forest was inescapable. No longer just a place, it had become their prison, a malevolent entity determined to plunge them into its despair. "Will you save her, or will you fall into their embrace?" a voice breathed, curdling with ice down his spine. The question lingered, heavy and unbearable. With Lily at his side, Tom had to decide: allow the forest to consume them, or fight the haunting whispers of the past to break free. And then, leaving a punctured silence, came another shadow, the vague outline of a figure in the periphery. Was it Sarah? The forest shifted again. "Who are you?" he shouted, uncertainty tightening like a vice. The answer would change everything. A low rumble echoed through the forest, vibrating through the ground beneath Tom's feet. He could feel the fear clenching around him, squeezing tighter with every moment. The shadow flickered again, this time taking a step closer, contorting with the darkness, revealing a familiar face, something between a memory and a nightmare. "Tom," the figure whispered, the voice sickeningly sweet, dripping with a sorrowful allure. "I've waited so long for you. Come back to me." Every fiber of Tom's being screamed to turn away, to pull Lily to safety, but the draw of that voice clawed at him like a child yearning for a lost toy. Memories flooded his mind, Sarah's laughter, her playful spark. Yet mixed within it was a gross distortion, a hint of madness layered beneath the surface. Lily squeezed his hand, her small body trembling. Daddy, don't listen. Please! The shadows twisted closer, the laughter morphing into sharp cackles, drowning out his thoughts. Join us, Tom! We can be a family again, they sang, the figures swaying, pulling at his heart with ghastly allure. Let the dark take you. No, no, no! He barked, wrenching his gaze back from the specter. There was nothing left of her, there was only pain. He had to fight it. He had to protect Lily. The echoes of laughter turned into wails, scarier than he had ever imagined. The phantoms swirled, their faces melting into one another, and Tom knew they wanted him to yield. Run! He dragged Lily along, their feet pounding against the littered forest floor, the underbrush snapping beneath their weight. But with every step, it felt like they were sinking deeper into the earth's belly, further from escape. The air thickened, suffocating, stifling his breath as if the forest itself was trying to swallow them whole. Ahead, there flickered that glimmer of light again. Hope surged in him. There! It's a way out. But just as quick, the light dimmed, like a dying candle, the shadows reaching for it hungrily. Don't stop. Keep moving! Tom urged, pushing every ounce of desperation into his voice. They ran. Laughter erupted behind them, a cacophony of voices rising higher and sharper. You can't escape your destiny, Tom. The forest holds what you've lost. No! Tom shouted, shaking off the madness trying to grip him. The shadows stretched, elongating unnaturally as if the trees were sending out limbs to ensnare them as they fled. Suddenly he stumbled. The ground gave way, and they fell into a shallow pit, roots curling around them like the grasps of the dead. Tom shot upright, panicking, ready to protect Lily, to shield her from this nightmare. But her scream froze him. The figure was looming closer. It was the last thing he ever wanted to see, the twisted visage of Sarah, a sick parody of what he once cherished. Tommy, help me, she pleaded, grinning with a sadistic glow that jolted his heart. He remembered her warmth, her kindness, the final goodbye that cut like a knife. It wasn't real. None of it was. The realization hit hard. Lily, close your eyes. He yanked her against him, feeling her small body tremble. His voice was wavering, but he had to push through. We'll find a way out, I promise. But the shadows surged again, scratching at his mind, scratching at his resolve. Turn back, Tom, you belong with us. He had seen enough. With a primal instinct, he squeezed Lily's hand tighter and tore himself away from the horrific scene, clawing his way back as the darkness howled in rage, a gnashing roar that sounded like the wind tearing through the trees, fierce and relentless. The voices crescendoed into one final phrase that echoed like a death knell. Only death can set you free. Tom pushed forward, a new intensity driving him, fear coiling in his chest like a rattlesnake ready to strike. But he was determined. They would not be consumed. Just then, they broke through the tree-line, stumbling onto the open road ahead. Relief flooded over him as they gasped for air, light enveloping them, but the shadows had followed, creeping along the edges. The darkness writhed, pulsing behind him, a reminder that their escape was only temporary. A heavy silence followed as he looked down the road. Eerie calm washed over him, broken only by the rustling of leaves. But just as quickly, he caught this chilling thought: what if they'd merely stepped into a new trap? Daddy, we're safe? Lily asked, her voice trembling but hopeful. Tom forced a smile, but inside, dread twisted his stomach. We're safe. We have to keep moving. But as they walked away from the gloom, a figure emerged from the shadows. Tom's heart dropped, gut twisting. It stood taller, transformed, with an outline that felt all too familiar yet terrifyingly wrong. Tom, it whispered, the voice sad yet beckoning, a lure made from nightmares. And as they stood frozen, shadows swirling at their feet, Tom realized the darkness was not just chasing them, it knew where they were going next. Tom's pulse quickened at the sight of the figure emerging from the shadows. It loomed like a specter of his past, the ghostly silhouette of Sarah pulling at the strings of his heart with a force that threatened to unravel everything he had fought for. Tom! Come back to me, she beckoned, the softness of her voice intermingling with something darker that lurked beneath. Not again, Tom whispered, sheer panic slashing through him. He could see the longing in Lily's eyes, a spark of hope mingled with confusion. He tightened his grip on her hand, swallowing down the urge to drown in memories that could lead him to his undoing. "No, we need to keep moving!" he shouted, forcing himself to back away. The light from the road flickered, stark against the darkness pooling around his feet, the shadows hungry, alive. "We can't trust it, Lily!" "Daddy!" Lily whimpered, pulling him closer, her small hand trembling in his. "But what if it's really her? It's a trick. It wants to break us. We have to." Before he could finish, a darkness rushed towards them, enveloping the road like a tidal wave, thicker than fog, suffocating any chance of retreat. He could hear the whispers swell around them once again. "You can't escape. You belong to us." Tom forced his legs to move, instincts kicking in. They stumbled back, fingers clawing into the earth, invigorating desperation. But the shadows swarmed, the specter of Sarah morphing, her comforting presence distorting into full warmth. "Let her go," it hissed, the absence of truth in the words slicing deeper than the fear. "Run!" Tom yelled, determination locking him in place against the storm of memories. They darted into the thickening shadows, but that alluring whisper climbed after him, echoing in the dark recesses of his mind. "Tommy, I'm waiting for you. Stop!" he shouted, directing his frustration into a roar that pushed against the whispers. The heart of the forest pulsed, thrumming with life. He felt the weight of the trees closing in on them, but ahead, he glimpsed it again, a flickering glint of light, casting its brilliance onto the surrounding despair. "That way! Come on!" With every step, Tom felt the floor of the forest shift beneath them. Tension gripped him, but their chances lay only in escape. They dashed for the light, Lily running at his side. Suddenly, a flurry of black shadows surged, reaching for them, urgency clawing through the air, as if the very land conspired against his flight. "No! Get away!" Tom shouted, frantically pulling Lily along as they sprinted into the radiance ahead. The light brightened, enveloping them in warmth, as figures behind them stopped, frozen, shadows reaching but unable to cross into the light. The cacophony of whispers dimmed, leaving behind exhilarating silence like a thick cloud has lifted. "Is it safe now?" Lily asked, hope peeking through her fearful face. Tom looked around, the glow illuminating the clearing, revealing a path that seemed untouched by the suffering they defled. But his heart hammered in hesitation. "I hope so. We can't let our guard down. The forest flows with deceit." As if his words conjured a curse, the trees behind them swayed ominously, branches creaking as if the whispers conspired against him. "Join us, we will give you everything you desire," came the pervasive chant, relentless, yet dulled, unable to breach the field of light they stood within. "Daddy?" Lily asked, her brows knitted in worry. "What now?" Tom took a deep breath. This side of the clearing felt different, like a sanctuary amid despair. "We find a way to shed this curse. We've come too far to lose ourselves now." They pressed forward through the clearing, but caution rooted him in place again as shadows flicked at the corner of his vision like whispered reminders of what loomed behind. Tom, there it was again, the familiar voice wrapping around him, warmth laced with an invitation, summoned by his longing heart. "Tom, join us, please." "No!" He shook his head in rebellion, stealing glances at Lily, stealing resolve. "We are not losing our way again." Just beyond the edge of this clearing, he spotted something aglint among the thickets. A stone, marked with strange engravings. Hope ignited in him like fireflies on a summer night. "That stone, it's old," he whispered, drawing closer, urging Lily along. The inscriptions sparkled as they approached, holding a memory, a pulse of the past, and knowledge soaked in loss. He knelt, tracing ancient symbols, feeling a tug from the shadows behind, an urge to claim him, to drag him back into the depths. "Daddy, can we go?" Lily tugged on his sleeve, but courage surged. This could end the haunting. A key to unraveling what binds us to the forest. Tom pulled Lily close, instincts aflame. It could lead us to answers. As he stood, something shifted. The shadows shifted restlessly, like a tide pulling back, ready to pounce. Tom's heart thumped in sync with the drumming of the woods, echoing in a cadence of despair that almost lulled him to sleep. "Stay strong, Lily!" he shouted, ready to confront the tide of whispers surging ahead. He turned to face the shadows and asked, "What did you want?" In that moment, the air thickened, and the whisper was clear. "What you lost, Tom. It's within our grasp, but you must surrender." And in that moment of clarity, he realized he needed to confront the past, blow beyond the smoke of longing that had wasted his time. "Enough!" he shouted, breaking free of their influence. "You won't take her, won't take us. We will carve our fate." With that declaration, Tom felt that glint of warmth surge as the energy from the stone washed over, a shield against the darkness. The shadows slowed, their grasp faltering. "Now! Move!" He and Lily darted for the edge of the tree line, pushing through the creeps of darkness and finally into the dawn. Light poured through, bursting forth in radiant wings as they escaped. The call of the forest dulled behind them, the oppressive weight lifted. As sunlight washed over them, Tom turned to Lily, drawing her close. "We're free." But behind, the echo of the whispers lingered, insistent and fierce. You can never truly escape, and in that fleeting moment of relief, they stepped onto the bright road that offered their next steps, knowing they would carry the scars forever. "Let us keep moving, we aren't done yet," Tom vowed, locking eyes with Lily. Together they faced forward, ready to forge a new path, with the promise of hope guiding them into whatever lay ahead. Yet still, the forest stood proudly behind them, unwavering, a reminder that shadows lurk even in the brightest of days. If you love this wild ride and want to hear more stories like this, you need to subscribe right now. Hit that bell to make sure you don't miss out on any future spine-chilling tales. Now's the time to smash that like button. Let us feed the algorithm and spread the word. And hey, I want to flood that comments section with your thoughts and theories. What did you think about this ending? Don't wait even one more second. Share this story instantly with at least 5 friends who need to experience this conclusion. Your support means everything.